Well, hello everybody. I am foolishness personified. I just realized. Um, and it is now 3 o'clock. I'm home from work. I spent the last hour or so working on page 13, and it's all done. It's all lettered. Everything's ready to go. It's not completely drawn or anything. This is just roughs where I know where the figures are. Um, and I know what's taking place. This is technically the last page of chapter 2, quote unquote. You see my little quotey fingers? Um, and there is only 3 chapters. So, um, how do I explain this? So we can only go 19 pages, according to my internally devised design documents that I came up with, my design specs. I can have a 19-page story for here because I have a 12-page story on Book of Ruin, and they have to combine like Voltron to form 32 pages somehow. Now I can go less because I can always do a poster or a pin-up, or I can do the copyright page as its own page, which I'm thinking of doing. So maybe this will be 18 pages. But this is page 13, so we can't go much further. And I don't actually write the whole story out ahead of time. I have an idea where it's going, and I kind of have a general idea of the parameters of the story. This is page 1. And Princess of Apshai was always going to be about this princess and this robot butler. But here is the page. There's 2 pages that are key. This one where he comes out of the egg. I don't know if you can see that. This panel is super key. I drew this before I drew the whole story. And then come on now. Let's go to the next thing. I'm just going to cancel it. The thing where he comes out of the egg, and then the moment he kind of becomes a hero. And that's on this page. If I can get it to load. There it is. And I don't know if you can see this. It's let this little blue line go across. Okay. Nope, that looks like it worked. Where he becomes a knight, right? And we find out that the reason he can do it is there's a part of his program called Adapt Learn. Adapt Learn mode. And in this universe, like we're doing world building too, robots can have the Adapt Learn program in limited ways. She tells him to turn it on permanently, and he says it's against galactic law. She goes, I don't care. And that's when he becomes his own person. All right. So let's go ahead and as we do anything on here, we're really concerned about. Well, let's start with doing panels. I'm on layer 1. Boom. And just in case you are trying to make comics on Procreate, if you draw your straight line and then you put your other finger down, it'll make sure that it's perfectly horizontal or vertical, or at I think a perfect 45-degree angle, some kind of perfect angle. So you notice I put my finger down like that, and I'll show you again. I'll do it again. This also works with like drawing a circle. So if you draw a circle, if you put your finger down, it becomes a perfect circle, like that. All right, same here. We're gonna draw straight across. And I'm going to go up rather than down. Let's talk about dimensions really quick. I like to draw my comics at 11 by 16. I used to do it by 11 by 17 with about a 1-inch margin or so. And then shrink it down to comic book size, like whatever that size is. But what I found out is that's just a little bit too long, and it elongates the Like when you shrink it down to book format pages, you end up kind of elongating the images. But I switched to 11 by 16, and that seems to work. I knew I wasn't far off. Now, some of you mathematical geniuses might have come up with a way better proportion than mine. And if so, let me know in the comments. But it's probably just a preference thing and it doesn't really matter. Okay, here we go. One of the toughest things to do is figure out, especially when you have a lot of text, where it's all going to go. And then the size of your text affects what can go on in the panel. So for example, this panel right here has, now this is not a four-way back and forth. This is 1, 2, and then 3. So it's a three-way back and forth. This is Illuminara. That's Centaur, and this is Illuminara, and this is Illuminara. To the greatest extent possible, you want to eliminate back and forths like this. If you can't do it, like if you just need to have all 3 points in one panel, that's fine, you can do it, but it's less efficient. And if you were to do that in like Will Eisner's class, he would give you an F. That's But he didn't like that. If you look at my Eisner Miller, he even mentions that he's like, this is completely improper. But comic artists have done this forever, though. All right. So this is the moment. And the toughest thing is always figuring out, what's the flow going to be? And that's why this set of figures is very small, is because I had all that stuff going on. Now, in this case, Centaur's just kind of bopped the beetle on the nose here. Bop the beetle. And it's running away. Has a humorous yipe, yipe, yipe kind of thing going on. And yeah, I think we're good. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Starting from the front of the panel. Let's call this Inky. And Rusty Nib. I may not go very far. She has kind of darkish lips. I'm wondering if I made the head too shallow. Make it a little bit less tall. It could be certainly a lot of drawing and redrawing and reworking. The figures. But we figure we're on the right track. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. Let's get it as good as you can and hope it reads. That's your minimal standard, is that it needs to read correctly. Do people understand what's going on in this panel? Don't be mysterious, that's what I'm saying. That's the only bad thing you can do. I was mysterious. I left a bunch of things. And if you can avoid that at all. Also, here's another cool trick. If you have a font that has a bold and an italic, or just even just a bold, you can do a lot more with lettering. You can emphasize certain words. So it says, Centaur, are you only programmed to be a valet? Put that in bold. I think we're going to leave this over here so we don't interfere with her thing over here. And we could put this one. Oh, I need it to balance, unfortunately. How about over there? Okay. Oops. How about a little bit of that? Now we're slightly underneath as our camera angle is, so we have these contour lines that are built into her hair down towards the scorpion tails. So those curve upwards. And then, of course, there'll be a background as well. But let's take a look at her without the pencils all in there, and I think we're on the right track. And we can add layers and layers of detail after we get the basic forms in. For example, these hatching lines. And there we go. And it doesn't have to be that tough. So yesterday, somebody commented, I think it was Lizillo, says, I'm always inspired when I see you working on your comic because it makes me think, I can do this too. And you can. Actually, I can't remember if that's what she said, but that's certainly the way I took it. It said that the Velvet Underground played their first show for an audience of about 100 people. Only 100 people. And we wouldn't think of that as a success, but every one of those people went out and started a band immediately afterwards. So, yeah, if the message here couldn't be any clearer, it's that you can do this if you want to. I think her neck is too long. Is her neck too long? Yes, you can. Definitely living proof. I think this is okay, except these sort of Alphonse Mucha pods at the end probably need a little bit of work. You have to remember that Scimitar only has 3 fingers. He has a whole hand. He's got a thumb, but he's only got the 3 fingers. I may not have drawn them correctly here. Let's take a look. Well, we're on the right track. Now, since he's behind, we want to make sure that our line weights are thinner the further and further you get away from the front, like from the foreground here. In fact, I might have gone a little too hard on her and given her kind of stupid looking outlines, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Speaking of outlines, I did see one of the dumber comments I've ever seen on, well, it's not the dumbest comment I've ever seen. Where do the eyes go? Where your eyes don't go. That's a They Might Be Giant song. Which is where your eyes don't go, a filthy scarecrow waves its broomstick arms and does a parody of each unconscious thing you do. I think I might have put his mouth a little high. No? Or a little too thick. How about something like that? Where your eyes don't go, a filthy scarecrow flames its broomstick arms and does a parody of each unconscious thing you do. Or something like this. I am close to being done with my current sketchbook, Vole. I need to think about what else to put in it. I could put tangent. I need to put either more oil pastel or more gouache in it. I like the gouache that's in it. It's got about 20 pages left, less than 20. Oof. Look. Have I heard anyone? Let's see. Let's take a look. I kind of want to start doing these sort of shadowy circle type areas on his shoulder joints. Maybe even the elbow joints. Not bad, right? We're on the right track. It's getting cleaner. Let's go ahead and make a bubbles layer just to get the bubbles out of the way. I still have to draw the beetle running away and some trees, in the background and stuff. There's a horizon line. It's going to be very thin. But I think we're on the right track with this. I think we're on the right track. Goodness, okay. Keep it rolling. By the way, these marks here are my rule of thirds lines. And you can see I wasn't able to really fit it into the rule of thirds. Kinda. His head is close. I mean, I could push it back, but I need the room for the speech bubbles. So see, all those compositional tricks, they don't always work. And then sometimes you have to sort of rely on your own internal sense of composition. Okay. I've been flood fill. Yes, it worked. All right, let's try this one. Okay, the line is, I think he's going to leave you alone now. I'm trying to push it up a little bit. I want this buffer, since we're going to use the top of the comics panel as part of the structure of our bubble. That means I'm gauging the edge of my speech bubble off of the edge here. And you don't want it to be too close, and you don't want it to be too far away. All right, that seemed to have worked. All right. And here's where the trouble starts. Let's go back to one of the previous pages, possibly this one, and possibly not. I'm looking at the beetle, and I'm trying to figure out how to do the beetle running away from behind. I still think this is probably our best view of the beetle. So let's go over here. I actually have that as a reference already. So you bring up canvas, reference, image, import, and then hopefully you have a screenshot of the page already, which I do, which is right there. And there it is. So there's our beetle. But in our case, we want to show the beetle from a different angle running away. So there's no real trick to this. You just have to kind of figure out how to do it. And I'm going to take a shot at it, and if I fail, I'm going to erase it. Whoops. Erase it and kind of go back into pencils and work on it a lot harder. So first thing first, control for line weight because it's in the background. It has these kind of shoulder pad looking areas. And then we're going to try and find the center line of it, which is right there. I could probably make it a bit longer. This is too bulbous of a beetle, a bulbous beetle. I'm going to make it a little bit longer. And it has these kind of long pointed wings, or wing case, I guess we might call it. And there is another shot of the underside of it. So let's take a look at that shot real quick. That happens here. We don't get much of it, but we get this underside. We can see it's a segmented beetle, and he's got kind of these hairs sticking up too. And then he has this sort of Rudy Toot snout. So this What's the snout? Because he's crying. The beetle's crying because he got hurt. And then let's do the underside. There should be 2 legs. Let's remember those legs are spiky legs. This. Looks like a can opener. Okay. He's 6-legged, so we're sort of imagining the gait. And then he's kind of... We're getting really cartoony as these motion lines. But I really like it, so we're going to stick with it. And, like, as if to emphasize, he leaves a little cloud of dust as he runs away. And he cries, "Yipe, yipe, yipe." Let's take a look at our figures now. Hang on. Is this a silly panel? What do you think? He's got spots on too, and I haven't drawn in yet. He's getting the hell out of there, though. All right, a couple of things. Is that tree done in the bubbles layer? You son of a bitch. All right, let's fix that. Icky. So I think it's my screen shut off that does this. But whenever the screen shuts off, the webcam shuts off. And if I don't catch it quickly enough, suddenly the video cuts out. Which that also is an indicator. It cuts off at almost exactly 24 minutes, I think. So we're getting close to the end. Anyway. We're not going to go much further with it. We're going to do some more trees. Sort of alien lollipop trees. Give him a slight frown. I don't know if you can see it. All right, let's do little speckles on the beetle, and we'll call it a day. So, I mean, there's definitely some hatching to be done and detailing. Let's throw in where those details would be. But most importantly, every page you do should reveal something new about the story, or the characters, or the world. Preferably all 3. If you can fit all 3, you're doing great. If you can't do all 3, it's not the worst thing in the world. Sometimes you only have space to reveal the character or something. And there's different strategies too, like how you would draw a page that's just revealing a character is different than how you would do a story page or a world building page. If that's all you're doing. If you're doing all three, all bets are off. You can do all kinds of things. I've gotten into this discussion before about flashbacks, how to show a flashback. And there's a million ways to do it, obviously. So just be aware. And look at a lot of comics. Like, look at a lot of, especially old comics. The new comics aren't that good. They don't even use thought bubbles anymore, is what I'm hearing. Come on now. Thought bubbles are an important part of comics language. Kicking up clouds of dust as you run away, that's comic language as well. Somebody somewhere at some point made the decision, I don't know if it was editorial or what, that the important thing about comics is art. Realistic art. A lot of the nonsense criticism of somebody like Rob Liefeld revolves around, well, he can't draw anatomy. No, he's drawing anatomy. Do you think Little Abner had, or Popeye, had perfectly drawn anatomy? If comics were music, it would be electric guitars, not grand pianos. And electric guitars can come in any shape and sound like anything. The important part is how you play it. Okay. Yeah, we're close. It's not done, but it'll have to do for now. Alright, please like, follow, and subscribe. There will be more comics every day. We got the whole page ready to go, so we'll be working on it for a couple of days. It's already Thursday, so this is probably at least going to go up to the weekend. And we will continue on. So page 13 begins. And then page 14 begins chapter 3.